Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in with Talking Witness. It's your host Turay, and today I have a special guest with me, which I'll let her introduce herself. But first of all, I want you guys to comment, subscribe, and then hit the bell for future uploads. And then to my special guests, I will let her introduce herself.
Hello everyone, my name is Nafishatu, Isha Turay. For short, I go by Isha.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice
Not
to
like
meet
nice to
you.
meet you, but welcome to the show.
Yeah.
So today, guys, we're going to be covering about domestic violence. I know some of you guys, I have them on my Snapchat, on my Instagram, and on my Facebook. I've been talking about. Alright, so since we're going to be talking about domestic violence, especially the African community, a lot of people don't really know what domestic violence is. So if we can start by kicking off for you to like tell us a little brief about what exactly domestic violence is.
To start off with, domestic violence is usually described as like a violent behavior that usually typically takes place within a home where, you know, a partner or maybe even family members become really aggressive. It may have to do with physical behavior, you know, hitting, choking, spitting, anything in that nature that puts you in a state where you feel threatened and you feel, you know, you're just in that, like, there's fear for your life. So that's where we're going to start off with.
Yeah, all right. Okay, yeah, and then to add up to that question, how can someone, like, what are the signs that comes with domestic violence that a person can say, like, I have this and this and this, I believe I'm going through this, like domestic violence? Or what are those kind of signs that someone can relate to saying that I'm really going through domestic violence?
One of the first signs is feeling like you're in danger, feeling that fear that, you know, your life is in danger, you don't feel comfortable, being held against your will. And, you know, like, for example, when you are, like, you know, in a relationship and you feel like your partner wants, you know, or is having too much control over you, to the point where, you know, you can't do anything without them saying yes or making you feel guilty or threatening you, putting any threats on your life in regards to, you know, you wanting to be free and do what it is that you want. So one of the first signs is feeling like you're in danger, feeling like you're, you know, in fear, being controlled and held against your will. Yeah.
Okay, and then since you are from like an African-based family community, like you were born in Africa if I'm not mistaken, and then you just happen to grow up here.
Yeah.
What is something that people in the African community are like the misconception about like domestic violence in our African society?
One thing I've noticed is our African parents, you know, the African parents, they like to discipline their children, you know, and even the Bible says, you know, bring up the child in the way that, you know, in the way of God, that way they can follow in a good path. But I think that most of the time, what we tend to do in African homes is that we use this word called, you know, discipline. We say that it's a disciplinary action to bring our children up in the correct way. However, most of the time, discipline is not done right. So what parents tend to do, African parents in the African community, they inflict that fear upon the kids, you know. So sometimes, you know, like the things that you may use to beat a kid, you know, you put so much fear in them that causes them to feel like, you know what, you know, like they do understand that their parents want good things for them, but at the same time, you're putting so much fear into the kids to the point where if they want to do something bad or they feel like they're in problem in any kind of messy or sticky situations, they can't come and talk to you because they're so much afraid of you. And I feel like in the African homes, there needs to be a specific way for our families, our parents, to be able to discipline us. That way we really understand that, you know, this is supposed to help us in the future, or, you know, this is actually putting us in harm's way. So I feel like most of the time in the African homes, we say that we're disciplining our children. Meanwhile, what we're really doing is inflicting fear upon our kids. Yeah.
Okay, and then what if it's actually a woman that is facing domestic violence in the houses, and then what is like something like, as in our African community, that we like with misconceptions about it, like, oh, a woman can't go through this, you know, or if a woman is going through this, it's her fault. So where is it that we are lacking the knowledge of like, this is something that really happened and it's not in everyone's shoe to blame the woman? So how can you like define
bring awareness to it? So that's actually a really good question. You know, when African women, when we're married and some of us get, you know, abused physically, we tend to think that it's okay. And then outsiders also make it look like it's okay. So then these women are just, you know, they just are stuck in this mindset of thinking, oh, it's okay. It's okay for my husband to put, you know, his hands on me and stuff like that. So majority of the time, it is hard for a woman to come out and say, you know what, my husband's putting his hands on me and that's not okay, because we're stuck in this mindset of, oh, it's tradition. We're supposed to obey our husbands and stuff like that. Yes, we are supposed to obey our husbands, but also we're supposed to be loved by our husbands. We're supposed to, you know, feel loved, not feel like, you know, we're in danger or we're in pain. So I feel like, honestly, we just need to understand what is okay and what is not okay. You need to understand that when I'm fearing for my life, this is no longer love. This is just me actually being afraid, and I need to stand up and speak up. And you have to just realize this is about you. It's not about what other people have to say or what the community is saying, because whatever you do, people will say stuff. They will talk about you. People are always going to label you. You just need to decide, is your life worth it? You know, is it worth it for me to stick up and get out of this marriage where I'm being abused? You know, I think that ultimately, you as a woman, when you're being abused or when you're stuck in that situation, and you have so many people around you telling you, oh, well, you know, stop making your husband mad, or behave yourself, or it's okay, he loves you, you know, that's how he shows love. Ultimately, the decision is yours for you to decide, is this love, or is this just him or me being abused and me being in an environment that is not good for me.
And then why is it hard, you know, to talk about this in the community? Like, why is it hard to bring our domestic violence awareness to our community and just talk about it like if it was anything else? Why is it just hard to touch that topic in the community?
It's hard because the thought of it is okay for your husband to do that, or, you know, once someone has inflicted the whole fear thing in you and they made you afraid, when you become stuck in that mindset, it becomes a cycle. So every time someone abuses you, you start to think, oh, you know what, it's okay, or you know what, it's my fault. What you tend to do is you tend to go in circle thinking about everything but the actual solution, which is for you to get out. So it's hard for people to speak up, especially women that are being abused. It's hard for them to speak up because, first of all, you have people outside of your marriage telling you, you know, what you're doing wrong, rather than trying to see what the problem is in the marriage, why you're being abused. They're busy telling you, oh, you know what, well, maybe you should talk to him this way, maybe you should behave this way, feed him this way, be submissive. Just, again, constantly going around in a cycle, you know, in a circle around, oh, this and this, instead of actually looking at the problem and realizing, like, no matter what this lady is doing, your hands should not be on the lady. That's not why you married them. Or a family member, your hands should not be on people. That's not what they're around you for. And there are many ways that you can solve situations, not by you putting someone's life in danger or making them feel like, you know what, this is the life that I have, I'm stuck in it and there's no help for me.
Okay, and then as a Christian, like you were a Christian, you were brought up in a Christian house and all that stuff. As a Christian, how do you feel, or how do you think that Christianity or religion has impacted on domestic violence on the issue? Like, to what extent? Because, you know, when you say the Bible said to death do us part, you know, like for better or worse or whatever, together we'll die together. Like, so what do you think that has impacted to our how has that impacted to the domestic violence? Sorry.
I think that most of the time when people, especially again women who are stuck in these situations, and as a Christian, they start to think, oh, I can't divorce my husband just because he's putting his hands on me. I can't leave him. God doesn't like divorce. Yes, God doesn't like divorce, but he also does not want you to be in a situation where you may end up being dead. So as a Christian, I think most of the time where we go wrong with this kind of thinking is we kind of like switch up what the word is saying. We start to think, oh, this is what God wants for us. And you know, we start to think, even if I go see the pastor's going to tell me, oh, bear with my husband, and you know, for better or for worse, I have to keep being submissive, I have to play my part as a woman. You know, it just keeps going around and around, and it just takes the right person, you know, maybe the right pastor, the right bishop for you to go to and say, hey, you know what, this is what's happening, and seek the correct help that you need from them. And I feel like, you know, in most situations, a lot of pastors will tell you, oh, you know what, try to fix it and try to do that. And unfortunately, it may end up in a situation where someone ends up dead because you told them go back and fix this or go back and fix that. And I just honestly feel like majority of the time it is not being handled the correct way, because we're taking the scriptures wrong. You know, we're just, honestly, I hate to repeat myself, but it's just a constant cycle. It's the same thing, and nobody actually hits directly towards the target, which is no one should be getting abused, no matter what the situation or case is. It is not okay.
Yeah, okay. And then one more thing is like, what is the main causes? Like, what do you think are the factors that leads to domestic violence? What are the trends that's like this and this and this and this is what leads to like domestic violence?
Okay, so let's see here, for example, relationships. One partner may want control, more control over another partner. So then that brings in the problem. So, you know, maybe the woman wants control over her man, and you know, violence goes both ways. It's not just man hitting women. So maybe the woman may want control over the man and, you know, power, so she may just try to put him down starting with words, and then, you know, then actually physically being abusive. And the same thing goes with like family members, you know, older ones wanting control over the younger ones, and most of the time it just has to do with control and power, and it has to do with people just wanting that power to be able to, what's the correct word? Use manipulation over you. You know, just control and power, honestly. And low self-esteem, because there's no other reason why someone would think it's okay to inflict fear and pain upon someone else and think it's okay.
Yeah, okay. And then one more thing is like, if someone is going through that phase, someone is going through that period, that domestic, like their loved one is abusing them, how can you help? How can you make someone open up and talk to you, or seek for help, like go to like a counselor, or go to call the police, or call the domestic violence line? How can you make someone, because it's in our community we are not like used to doing such stuff, you know, because we like, oh, I don't want the community to judge me, I don't want people to see that I failed my marriage,